So here we are. In reality, 3 months from that unforgettable night we rescued the Cayenne out of the mountains. The last time I saw that car, it was sitting in a scrapyard after being flatbedded back to civilization. Now, those were 3 long months where we had to mull over what to do with the entire Yippie Cayenne project as a whole. As the car sat at Berg Performance back in Denver, we had to ask ourselves, do we consider it totaled and scrap it there? Should we ship it back to Connecticut and figure out what the game plan was here? Do we source an engine and ship it out to Colorado to work on the car back there? We sourced ourselves one of the very few 4.8-liter twin turbos available in the country. This isn't as easy as you might think. It's not just an N54 or 2.0T. It took a while. From there, we stuffed our suitcases full of cameras and FCPRO parts and headed back west. I am here at Berg Performance, our buddies who went on the venture with us in the first place. Thanks to Sean telling us to go on that trail, and thanks to Cole for telling me to dive into the water. But these two guys are coming in clutch. They're giving us their weekend to slave over swapping the engine on the Cayenne. So we've got a donor engine that we picked up, has about 90,000 miles. So technically the car's gonna be happier, it's gonna be younger. We ordered a ton of parts from FCPRO. Obviously we sent them over this week. Probably more parts than we need, but we figured engine's out, why not refresh it? Well, we can get to everything. You guys saw us struggle with some of what we had to deal with when the engine was in the car. So yeah, I guess first things first, we should probably just honestly devise a plan. The tone for the weekend was set. With no time to waste, we decided to divide and conquer our first set of tasks. Sean would start tackling fluid extraction, yes, including river water, and focus on engine removal, while Cole and I began to tear down and refresh the entirety of our junkyard engine. Our goal for the night was to get organized and a head start for a long weekend ahead of us. Yet again, Ethan and I had flights on Monday, and Berg was back to business as usual come that morning. So this was the Cayenne's shot at driving out on its own.
I have to give it to Eurowise. They make some pretty gnarly tubular plates and bumpers and skids that if we didn't have them, that car would have been pretty foobarred. Yeah, so thanks, Mike.
Every time I heard that scraping sound, it was like horrible but good, because I was like, armor's doing something that it's supposed to, but damn, that sounds bad.
I think we're at a really good spot right now. So this is our new baby.
It's got leaves on it, looks a little dirty, but we are going to refresh it entirely. So it's a new heart. It's a proper new heart. All right, well, let's start tearing into it. Piece by piece, part by part, we took the time to remove, assess, and clean things we may keep and others we'd be replacing with fresh new parts.
The following day.
You guys going to teach like an art class or something? What's going on here?
These are our smocks. Cole has standards. In his bed, I have to wear this. In Sean's bed, I don't have to wear anything.
We're sophisticated here.
While we're in here, while everything's completely exposed, it just made sense to do the entire drive belt system, so the accessory belt system. So tensioner, pulleys, just why not? They're all there. They're cheap, they're easy. We sell a kit for all of it, so I'm gonna swap those on now.
Okay, I still haven't had my coffee yet, but I'm working on cars, so it's a good day. We're trying to get to this thermostat housing, and we have to take all the fuel systems rail out. And so all of these little lines that you see go to a fuel injector that's sitting inside of the head. So we need to take this out. I've loosened all of this, and this should just wiggle right out. And once we have this out, now we have a lot more clearance to get to all of the thermostat housing things that we need to. Be a little tricky, but yeah. And that's the starter. So if you ever have to do starter on these cars,
it's a little buried.
You got to get down there. Crusty little boy. Yeah, he's starting to seep past the seal. You can see all of that like residue right around there is, you know, would have
in due time.
Yeah,
would have found its way into the valley of death. I don't think this one was leaking like ours. It's definitely older than ours, since ours is maybe 120 miles on it. So we'll probably swap that one back over, but figured might as well check it. Seal actually looks, seal's pretty flat and hard, but to be expected if it was never changed.
Good little piece of success here. Got ECU out, got engine harness disconnected from body from the relay carrier up underneath the driver's side of the windshield. ECU's out of the passenger side of the windshield cowl right there. So we got engine harnesses loosened, coolant lines are disconnected up top. Engine mount carrier is disconnected. I'm doing some front end engine stuff now. Primary, secondary oxygen sensors are disconnected from body of the car as well. My goal is to have it out before noon, so I got about an hour and 15 minutes to do it. So let's keep moving.
It's probably worth mentioning how badass working along two professional full-time mechanics was. The speed they move at, their ability to problem solve, and just their confidence that they carry to tackle any job at hand is something a casual DIYer like myself can only aspire to be someday.
Oh, we're coming down. Everything's looking clear. A couple little things. Shifter cable was like, I just didn't even think about it. But once it started to come down a little bit, before it even hit tension, I saw it. So I had to work around the engine table, which put me past my 12 o'clock time. But we're almost there. So getting pretty close. I'm just being slow and steady wins the race on this. And we're out. 17 minutes behind schedule, but I did it.
You know, the guy stopped and talked to you.
Yeah, that's all right.
Plus filming, which slows you down.
That's okay. We're doing all right still. So
I think we're on schedule.
we're.
Once Sean had the entirety of the powertrain out and on the table, it was time to assess some of the damage we may not have been able to see with things in the car.
Definitely, I think
This
it
one
was
feels nice.
a water pump for a little while.
This one feels good.
We still need some parts from this engine for that one, so one of which being the vacuum pump, and just a few other things, and we're also kind of curious what this looks like inside, but that's for another date. But yeah, I'm going to start stripping this down, swap out 2 sensors, anything that's available that wasn't available before, I'm going to start working on that. Next up on the donor engine was refreshing the commonly problematic cooling system. No better time than now.
The junkyard, we took the motor out, went a little ham on that piece of pipe. That's it. Got my horns.
So right now what I'm working on is I'm getting accessories pulled off. So power steering pump, AC compressor, alternator. We get pulled off here so we can install on that, get serpentine belt and tensioner and everything put on that one. And I need to get caps off of this. That one I need to get first because I got to get those torque converter bolts out to start kind of comparing and contrasting what's on this, what that one doesn't have, and just make sure that by the time we're ready to lift this one off, that one goes on, we can bolt it together and put it home. And there's an AC compressor. That's the last of the accessories, thankfully. Those are pretty in there.
remember that horrid sound of our bent rod? Well, yes, the engine was hydro-locked, we still had to rotate the engine in order to get access to the bolts that hold the torque converter to the ring gear.
So it ain't going through. I tried to get hammered down in the hole and kind of give it a little whack on the pistons that are moving down as we're rolling forward. No avail.
How big of a bar have you gone? It's not a very big bar. What about like an actual breaker?
There it is.
Yeah, need some lumberjack strength in here.
Oh, a little farther.
I thought that bar was snapping.
Okay, right. Oh, too far.
How many people does it take to turn over a motor? Jeez.
You're right there. I'm pulling out flex plate bolts for the flex plate to torque converter, so that when we pull the engine off, torque converter stays with the transmission and doesn't come with the engine. If that torque converter comes off with the engine, we will have gallons of transmission fluid that will pour onto my floor, and I would love to not clean that up. So this is that sight window where you can get your tool in those bolts. And you can spin those bolts out. I'll show you one here just a second.
So we're swapping one of the, we think it's a turbo.
It's like a.
It's coming from the
breeder.
PCV system.
Vent down there, like a check valve or something?
I don't know what this line is, but the donor engine had a pretty gnarly nick on it, but this was basically showing cords behind the rubber. So we're just gonna swap it over. Those are the kinds of things we're kind of looking for throughout this entire reassembly, unassembly. It's just stuff that doesn't look great. On the engine, we swapped over basically everything we could. We addressed the pulley system, the cooling system, the fueling system, the ignition system, the engine mounts. Basically, every box was checked to make this a completely refreshed engine. Engine out takes 5 hours. Engine mount takes 1 hour.
One engine mount just took us 40 minutes. Out of the car. That engineer did not get paid enough for that. Or maybe he got paid too much for that. Yeah. So, mount came out. This was stuck onto the engine mount bracket because you can see all this nice fuzzy white stuff is corrosion. You can see this very clean powdered metal little dot right here. There should be a locating dowel similar to this on that little hat right there that locates that engine mount and clocks it correctly in the engine mount bracket so that it lines up with the bolt holes in the engine mount carrier that sits on top of the subframe. Well, that guy broke off inside of that mount bracket, and that kind of makes it tough for us to line up our engine mounted. So now we got to figure out a way to get that out so we can get our engine mounted.
We just got all the accessories except the AC compressor on this motor. We're about to roll it over to the table and mate them together, put the torque converter bolts in, bell housing bolts, and get this all prepped. So tomorrow we're gonna come in, burn some gas, and get this thing out the door. Cayenne, it's a stupid East Coast car. Everything is f***ing rusty, and I'm trying to fix this piece of shit. I want a nice drink beverage and get rid of this.
Although the mating process can seem straightforward, it is still a dance for two. Moving things around, adjusting the pitch and angle the engine is going to the transmission, ensuring you aren't contacting anything or pinching something. At the end of a long day, it can feel like quite the task, especially with an engine this large.
Transmission's in, now what?
Nothing fits.
Now the motor mounts this side, we're having to like torque them in order to get them lined up. But we checked like with the ones that we took out and they match 1-to-1, so we're not sure why they're not lining up perfectly. Alright, well, I'm starving because we're still on that time change. We're gonna go back, grab some sleep and some food, and then we'll be here at 6 or 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
good.
let's get at it.
Alright.
The next morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
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 What's up? Morning.
Nah.
Luckily, Sean came in feeling good. Cole and I think are still
We got this.
feeling a little shitty from last night. Sean already fixed the engine mount situation, so that dowel must have slipped off when we were tightening it. So he's got that situated, which is nice. But yeah, things should start to come back together. It's just a lot of little stuff. Then it can go up. So even though it was a weekend trip, we had to stay on schedule in order to get out of there on time. That meant today, day 2, the engine had to be back in the car and running before nighttime. The race was on.
So after you get transmission mated to block, the flex plate, which is bolted to the crank on the motor, has holes in it that line up with pairs of bolt holes on the actual body of the torque converter to lock the flex plate and torque converter together. After you get them mated, you have to go through this little sight window to get those bolts through the flex plate into the torque converter body to lock those two together. You have to line them up. So now we're playing the game of trying to get those two things lined up to be able to put torque converter bolts through the flex plate into the torque converter. All done, got all 6 of them in there. This is your little sight window plug that goes into the block for access to those torque converter bolts. Before we get this in here and get an intake system put together, we just we're blowing out the intercoolers to just verify that there's no pooled water in there that's going to get sucked into the new motor, because that would be a bad day.
Stuck.
Yeah. So just going to do that really quick. We're just getting our game plan together of how, we're going to kind of walk some stuff in as the engine comes out. When I dropped it yesterday, it was a little bit of a kind of slow walk down, so it's going to be same process going back in, slow walk up, kind of jiggle and center the thing. We'll get subframe bolts in there, and then once the subframe bolts are in there, we'll get those snugged down a little bit, and then start plumbing.
Plumbing. Yeah, that's my fear of something getting pinched.
Huh?
That's my fear of something getting pinched.
Right. The new non-hydrolocked engine is mated to trans and is now in the car. So here we go.
All right, come down. Insert Rocky music here.
Catch it?
Dun, 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 dun.
How's it feel to have a maybe almost working Cayenne again?
You know me, dude. I'm so pessimistic that I don't want to consider this a win yet. But it's exciting to see it back up and off the table. I mean, these guys know what they're doing, so I should have more faith than if I were doing it myself. But yeah, excited but nervous.
I'm gonna be crying if this was him by himself.
I wouldn't be here. I would have it would have been on Facebook Marketplace. Pick up as is.
I've got to get harness rerouted, fuel lines put on, vacuum system replumbed, inlets put on and tightened, lower intercooler hoses, throttle body snout, map sensor, primary, secondary oxygen sensors plugged in, air filters, MAFs, power steering fluid, hook up PDCC. We don't need to bleed it or anything yet, but we need to hook it up. It's kind of basic reassembly stuff. There's some stuff you can kind of wait on, since we're with this project, we want to verify obviously the thing's going to run before we do a bunch of other stuff. So I want to make sure it has oil pressure, burns gas, doesn't misfire, stuff like that. So once we get kind of basic just engine running stuff put on the motor and electrical system kind of woken back up and not so unbelievably pissed.
Dog, I finally got you some slices, bro. All the way from the East Coast. And beer on tap, baby. Should've came, we asked you, we invited you. No. You gotta be busy. Pretty socialite.
You didn't have to do it like that. Now I can't use that coal.
Oh, dude, where'd you find that?
It's there, dude.
Oh,
I swear to God.
pick that bag up.
Do you want to see the video?
Yeah, run it back, dude. Run it back.
We're getting the oil put in it right now, the slippery juice, and then we can start it without coolant. Not worried about that. We're not going to run it for a long time. I just want to make sure it starts.
Dear car gods, we have been slaving for about 2 days straight, almost, and this Cayenne deserves another life. It's been dead for a while, but we gave it a lot of love this weekend.
Flashback.
I'm gonna pray that we did not bend the rod, and we're gonna burn some gas today. Amen.
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 That's right, knock.
End of flashback.
Make it burn gas.
Burn gas.
Car guy just didn't do this. We did this. Let's go.
All right.
First crank, baby. First crank, baby. That's what's up.
Dude.
First
Hold
crank,
on.
baby.
Let's do the test to see if it cranks. So let me clear codes real quick because I had some codes.
Let's warp the head right here.
This is the second attempt. We burned gas.
Sweet.
Everything else is still But
Okay, so keep
Fucking go, dude.
Let's freaking go, man. Ugh. So
Fall
thanks so much.
absolutely, bro. Not a problem, man. Happy to help.
Yippie Cayenne mother trucker. The Cayenne lived again. But it still wasn't victory, as we had a laundry list of items still left to go. Namely, the air suspension, front subframe, drive shaft, exhaust, cooling system, AC system. You get it. There was still a lot left to call this complete.
So if you look, you have wide landings and skinny landings in this tripod joint. It's kind of counterintuitive, but the wide landings here need to line up with the skinny gaps on the cage. You would think, like I just put it together, that wide goes with wide, skinny goes with skinny, but then the balls don't move, and you have a seized CV joint that will blow up. So they're a little bit of to get them back together. I think that's what I need to do.
Just go myself.
that's
You
it.
see, we have a CV now.
Yeah.
See? You got a V.
So I'm making a grooved, so it's cupped to in the middle too in that groove, so I can the ball when I snap it in it won't slide out. So I'm gonna put a bolt through there, and then it's gonna wrap around. Once I snap it in, it should be able to cup it. So see how that's like
it's not just
domed.
A fix, it's an improvement.
I mean, this was yeah.
Problem number one, main problem, solved. Engine sounds great, idling, doing what it needs to do. Not leaking yet, that I can see. No, but I have total faith in that being good. Now we're trying to diagnose what actually happened with the air suspension. So Aaron fixed that sensor, but we don't hear the compressor kicking on. You know, we've had plenty of air suspension problems with this car since we've had it, but we've got it plugged in right now and trying to diagnose it, see why it's not happy.
So we can't get the car to pump up. Found out that the 40 amp fuse is blowing instantaneously as soon as we go to try to fill the suspension. I think the compressor probably took on a little bit of water and now won't move. So we're gonna try to jump start it. Hopefully, if it starts moving, then we can put a new fuse back in and actually get it to start working.
Okay, go ahead, turn it on.
On.
The inlet's up by the airbox for
the pump?
Yeah.
I bet that f***er sucked in water from up there.
It's because that's right on the.
It's on the it's on the inlet to the
Yeah.
airbox. I bet if that pump ran at any point,
Then it was in the water. Yeah.
it probably sucked it from the airbox because the airbox took water.
Damn.
Man, you
Like
got
every
all the
motor.
pistons are up in here. I bet
What
you
else
got
is in
bent
here?
rods in
Yeah,
your
what-
compressor.
Mount that one on the wall.
I personally want to thank the guys at Berg. Aaron set this up. We've been talking, I think it's been 3 months, honestly,
Yeah,
since
it's
this
been a while.
happened. So it was a few weeks of us both losing sleep. You know, we always wanted to kind of put a bow on this, and we're pretty freaking close. Sean and Cole, again, I thank you a million times this weekend, but I can't say it enough. Genuinely appreciate you guys giving me your weekend.
A goal for the end of the weekend was to drive out of here under its own power, and it has done
You
that.
notice that it's not there.
It's true.
It's here.
We didn't push it. So powertrain's in, burns gas, sounds good, doesn't misfire.
Yeah.
No engine faults or nothing massive there. So engine
Fluids.
stuff is.
No fluids pouring out of it.
Yep, all fluids are still in it. So that's
We didn't
that's
put the
a win,
skid plate
too.
on just in case, actually.
Yep,
That's why we didn't
yep,
put it
Yep.
on. But no, I mean, honestly, like air suspension problems, we've had that since we bought the car. So like not this in depth where we hydrolocked the compressor potentially, but we have had problems. So we'll address that. We're gonna overnight compressor for tomorrow morning before Ethan and I fly out. Try to fix it, get it ready to at least ship. We have a little buttoning up to do that I'll just do in the morning, but we're honestly in really, really, really good shape. I cannot thank you guys enough.
The next morning.
Yeah. Job we've done 3 times. So we're taking care of that Hydrolocked compressor this morning before we head back to Connecticut. We moved our flights back a little bit so we can fly out tonight. So we can get this kind of wrapped up in a way that it's good to ship. So both compressor needs to come down. I kind of want to open it up to see if we can see that it was actually Hydrolocked, but it shouldn't be bad. We've done this a few times. Dude, electrical connectors are alone. Far enough.
Again, dude, flashback to episode 2.
When we got it?
It's so satisfying when you hear that pop.
You ever watch my DIYs? I suggest you push in, push on the thing, and then you pull out.
Push in, and then pull out. Like it doesn't work. There's some corrosion and some water. You got wet for sure. Oh yeah. Ready to go back in, and yeah, we definitely found a smoking gun, so that felt good. We did realize that the end of the compressor was a little bit different on the new one, so we had to swap the old one over, but we swapped over all of the new internals. So hopefully this works. It's in. I hate putting in these lines. The fittings never feel great, but we will see what it does.
Your best friend is back.
We used Auto a lot. This whole series should be sponsored by Auto.
Hit him up, not too late.
I was just driving it around. I'm trying to actually reset the steering angle sensor, but look at, you can see the front is coming up right now, the rear's up. So compressor's working. Steering angle sensor still being a little wonky, but that's huge. Obviously, I mean, we kind of found a smoking gun, so it made sense. But it's great that it's actually using the sensors properly and it's recalibrating right now. Super hopeful. I mean, it's cool. It's actually kind of cool to see it lifting back up. Now it feels like alive.
What you got there?
Sick of moving these seats around. Time to put these bad boys back in. Oh, I don't miss this process. But it's really just 4 bolts. Just all the other stuff and how it goes in that's annoying.
This is sick.
What?
You got your car working.
Yeah, dude. Can you believe it?
No.
We are bleeding PDCC, so the active sway bar. Yep, there it goes. Yep, this is active sway bar. The car will lift and lower itself via the active sway bars.
Yo, girl.
Yo, how's it smelling there?
Well, we just said it needs a doggone detail for sure.
Oh, God.
And we rolling, boy.
Hell yeah.
Oh, this gave me goosebumps.
First rip, dude.
We haven't driven it yet.
We had to bring you.
He's stoked.
Pretty much. I mean, still don't want to believe it quite yet.
Obviously.
Control arms, we gotta do control arms. They're shot. Well, I wish you were here, man. All weekend we're like, man, I wish Mike was here.
I know. I wish I was there too, man.
All right, well, we'll let you work. We just wanted to say hi. We miss you.
All right. Miss you too. Have a safe flight.
Later.
Bye, Mike.
Poor Mike.
First rip, dude. How
First
is it?
rip. It feels good. Car, like, I'm like so anxious though. Like, don't want to trust anything about what's happening right now. Like waiting for a huge clunk. Something's like. That's me. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just scared. That is why we call it Mike. But car feels great. Genuinely, I gave up on this a while ago. Like, I knew that it could be fixed. It just felt like so much work, so far away from home. Money, time, everything about it just seemed unreasonable. So to be at this moment right now, like, it's a total full circle from when I first got the car and we really first started tackling it. So yeah, I'm like pessimistically giddy right now. The amount of support to get this car back on the road cannot be understated. The team at Berg Performance went out of their way to ensure the Yippie Cayenne was properly revived. The amount of work in swapping that engine over a long weekend was no small feat and would not have been possible without them. With things finally looking up again, it was time to get the car back to Connecticut where Mike and I could finally finish this project off with all the finishing touches to make it the ultimate European tow rig. If you're enjoying the Yippie Cayenne series, please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you in the finale. There's a lot to cram into this final episode. Not only is it the last episode of the series, but there's still a ton of work left to do, both with finishing touches we had already planned and some last-minute maintenance items to bring the Cayenne into better than Colorado condition. Even though the to-do list was stressful, we could rest easy with at least one accomplishment under our belts. The Cayenne was back at FCP Euro HQ in Connecticut, running and driving. And while yes, the hard part of getting it back here was technically done, we still had some work left for us to get things back to 100%, or 90%, or 80%. You get the idea.
When the car came off the shipping trailer from Colorado, some of the damage from our off-roading and rescue adventures set in. As it slowly bled out its power steering fluid all over our parking lot, we knew the first thing on our list of to-dos was a new steering rack. Lucky for us, we had a brand new Bosch rack sitting on our shelves. And yes, of course this would have been easier to do a week prior when the entire car was apart at Berg. But since when have we done things the easy way on this project?
Yo, that's some weird looking pizza, Mike.
No pizza, no beer, and because of that, the steering rack's not going back in. So figure it out, Ben.
Chinese food, sub-clause of pizza.
You let us know in the comments what you think. Is the Chinese food a good sub for pizza?
Once I can drive this car again, we're gonna have a huge pizza party and beer party.
You heard it here. Don't cut this.
Once Mike and I had the new steering rack back in the car, we decided to complete another item on our maintenance checklist we never got to, a transmission refresh. They probably gotta do it.
Ew.
Oh, it looks nice. Still got some red to it. Poor thing.
Still got the Colorado River water in it.
So we'll drop the filter next, and then we have to do, once the filter's out, you can see these lines here. This is where the peeing in this thing is not fun. This is where the transmission oil is actually wicking up into the cabin of the car. So we have new harnesses to put in there. The plan was to replace the fluids, gasket, transmission filter, and most importantly, the valve body harness, as we knew we were getting fluid traveling through the wiring harness and up to the TCU, which, as Nathan Brown reminded us, is a common issue on these cars. All relatively easy stuff, but not without a quick fight with some electrical connectors. my favorite. All right, as expected. 0 for 4 against electrical connectors. Mike came over and got these freaking things off. But we basically have to take these electrical connectors completely out of the transmission so that we can replace them. And if you're curious why, but you can see how drenched the insides of this harness are. And that's because if you look inside the actual receiving end, they're completely drenched in transmission fluid. So this is basically wicking up through the harness, up towards the TCU. And yeah, it's just not good. So that's why we're replacing these in the first place.
I'm gonna leave Ben all to that since he loves electrical connectors. And I'm just gonna watch Nate and Jacob build a cage for the 850.
Hey, Mike.
Bye.
It felt good to know that now, not only was the engine refreshed, but the transmission had a fresh start as well.
With the first 2 issues resolved, it was time to finish the last thing on the mechanical list, to get rid of the clunks and excessive wear our front suspension had been showing. Off-roading in Colorado and subsequently dragging it out without air suspension absolutely ruined our front control arms. Excessive noise, plus visible play in the bushings meant it was time to install our 957 front suspension refresh kit, which included new TRW tie rods along with Myla HD upper and lower control arms. With the beefier HD bushings, we knew we were setting up the Yippie Cayenne for success on future trails and long tow trips across the country.
With all the mechanical aspects of the 957 back up and running, it was finally time to add the rest of the finishing touches and get back on and off the road with Yippie Cayenne once again. Join us next time for a build recap and update on where things landed with this project all in the end.